right in today because I know, like I said, Liza has to drop in an hour, so I want to make sure we get through as much as we can. But welcome to week 8, guys. This has been so great. It's been so fun for us to get to know you guys and walk you through. And thank you for being part of our first 8-week guided study program. So that's been we really, we'll get into it, but we really welcome your feedback on the whole process because we just want to keep making this better and keep it going and helping more people to get the ball rolling in their real estate journey.
Exactly. And Michael got to join us too for our last week.
He got what? You cut out.
Oh, said Michael got to join us too for the last week here.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
It was not part of the plan, but I enjoy it. So
I didn't mention it last week, Michael, but I have to say how impressed I was with how quickly you were doing math when we were looking at properties. I didn't say anything, but I was like, geez, and we pulled up my calculator. I'm like, how did he do that so fast? So
yeah,
I know you're an engineer and that was your background, but man, you know your math.
with numbers, yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Like he says, he's like, numbers like tell me the story. I'm like, that is a brain that I do not have.
yeah, that's what I mean. I was like, I generally think I'm fairly good with numbers. I was like, shit, I can't do it as fast as you. So I was very impressed. So, oh gosh, can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right, great. So I'm just trying to be able to see everybody here. There we go. Okay, so as we said, welcome to week 8. Can you guys see my PowerPoint?
Yes. Yep. Class picture slide.
Okay, great. So we're not going to do a class picture because not enough of us are here. But Lindsay, can you go ahead and keep an eye on the? I'm sorry, guys. I did something strange with my Zoom. Keep an eye and let anyone in that comes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. All right, here we go. So we're going to do a little bit on a self check-in. I know Taylor and Junko, you guys did get us your self check-ins. We'd love to see more from everyone else. Prop finder registration. I just wanted to get this off the desk right now. I know you had spoken, Lindsay, you had spoken to Junko about potentially getting access.
Yeah, I talked to Prop Finder, unless, Michael, you have any other ways about how we got it, because they're saying that as of right now, they don't allow like new people to register unless you're basically wholesaling it. And they weren't impressed with our just like 8 people a month.
So interesting. Okay.
So the exact same software is Prop Stream, right? That's the other one. And I don't know if it was Jose looked into it. Now it's the exact same thing. Which is so ridiculous that they don't give it for the same price, but it's $100 a month. But it's the same thing. My suggestion is if like some of you guys want to buy it and just like share the login and password, because you're going to have more properties allowed than you need per month to run your searches and stuff. So that's probably the best suggestion I have, that if you guys want to, do your own kind of little thing and split the price with each other, because again, we use it like every single day. It's invaluable, but I don't even know how you ended up getting that, or we got grandfathered in, but we've had it for years.
Yeah, I think we have had since our very first training, like
6 years ago. Yeah.
So we pay $50 a month, but
okay. So if anyone wants to do that, email the group and see if anyone wants to share on that. And then today we're going to go through some deal reviews. We felt like the best way to end it is to really just continue to pound through how we review deals. We want to give you some updates on some deals that we're doing right now, just to give you an idea too of what to expect as you go out there. So I just love this quote, came across it again today. Many of you probably know it, but whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. I think like the self-doubt that comes into all of our brains, it's inevitable, especially when you're starting something new. I can't tell you how physically ill I was when I put my first offer in on our property. So we had dinner, we literally had dinner guests. I'm like, I need to go in the other room and just sit by myself for a while. I was so nervous. So just bear in mind, the reason why you join this course, the reason why you have access to Lindsay and I and Michael is just, to help you through that first one and just continue to force yourself into a positive mindset.
This is one of my favorite quotes ever, Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah. So we're going to do start with self check-in. Junko, Taylor, you don't have to share anything you're not comfortable sharing, but Is there anything that you want to share as you guys went through your self check-ins?
So I think so. Me and Taylor, we have been reading this bar book. The you guys recommended, and we are trying to master. Yeah, and we are trying to master it. So that's I think we are looking at the property, and so that we can do that like a bar method. And so how do you? Maybe Taylor can also ask you, but how can we apply that method with the property that there's a still tenant in? Because like the first deal that I found, which I couldn't get it, but there's really distressed, no one was living, and it was a cash sale, and that made sense to me. But let's say I found, let's say like a triplex or quadruplex, there's still tenant is still in. I think that the rent is still like under market. Like how can we apply those like bar method in those property that is still the tenant is still in?
Yep.
Like
So
how...
it depends how fast you want to go. A lot of very distressed properties, the tenants are not going to have any lease at all, or they're going to be month to month. Like the 8-unit that Michael and I bought in March, the rents were very, very much under, but we didn't want to kick everybody out right away and have 0% or zero rent. And we also knew we couldn't renovate all 8 units within the same month. So we basically were increasing some rents. We gave some people notices that they had to vacate, and then we were just doing like 2 units every couple months. So you can just basically tell them, hey, this is your last month. You want everybody out to have it completely empty. You can stagger it, or you can just increase them, like the 10-unit that we have too. Some of them, we just increase the rent kind of year over year, way more than 3% to get it closer to market. So yeah, it depends on your plan, but you can absolutely do the BRRRR method, even if it's a completely full packed apartment building.
So for those apartment, not apartment, property, do you still do like a traditional loan and do apply bar method? Because it's not like you're doing everything at the same time. You're doing basically one by one.
Yeah, you can pay cash. That's kind of like the concept of the BRRRR book for like a single family, right? You buy it cash. You renovate it, you rent, or rehab it, you rent, and then refinance. But we've done the BRRRR method on all of ours, other than the first couple in Shenandoah in that D class, with using traditional financing on it, because you're still renovating, so you're increasing the building value, you're still increasing the rent, so you're increasing the whole NOI, and then you're refinancing as well. And even the big syndications that Lauren and I do, it's literally the same tenants of the BRRRR method. It's just on a much larger scale. So we're taking these big multi-million-dollar properties, renovating the units, increasing the rents, refinancing it while we still hold it. So that's the BRRRR method. It's just on a much bigger building. It's the same principles and tenants that you're using, whether it's a single family or much bigger apartment complex.
What changes the valuation of the property? If it's a single family to a fourplex, it will be based on comps. So you have to create value to be able to refinance. So it justifies to do it and get some money back. But you have to always keep in mind that the valuation is going to be either up by comparatives, or if you're in commercial, meaning 5+ units, it's going to be based on your net operating income. So either way, you have to increase the value of the property. And if you're able to increase the value enough for you to justify the refinance and making sense of it, meaning that the new loan will give you some of your original equity back, then you can do it. But you have to add value to the property one way or another. So for triplex in your example, as she said, you can stagger the rehab one at a time. You don't have to kick out everybody. You want to keep some cash flow while you are doing the renovation, so you don't have an empty building with all the expenses just on you. So
Tomorrow at 10 a.m. we're closing on that 6th unit that we've mentioned a few times over the last couple of weeks, and there's tenants in it right now. So do you want to tell them kind of what your vision is for the 6th unit that we're closing on?
Right.
Because some is empty and some is occupied.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're buying a 5-plex, which
Well, it's a 6-unit, but we're making it into a 5-unit.
right, we only can do 5 units out of it. So we're gonna merge some of the units to make them bigger. That's one part of adding value. We're gonna have larger units, which are in bad shape today. We're gonna put some capex. We're gonna redo all the units and raise the rents from average 650, 700 to probably around 16 to $1,800. But we're gonna put a lot of money into the building. So it's kind of always to be in position to refi and cash out some of your original investment. You have to create more value than the cost of the rehab. So obviously, if you have the purchasing price plus the capex that you put or more than the valuation, it's going to be very hard for you to extract the equity. But that's part of calculating the deal and making sure that if you put $30,000 into the rehab for 1 unit, you should be able to create the equivalent of more than $30,000 to make sense to be able to cash out the money. So it's part again of the underwriting. But for that specific project, we're going to, I don't have a specific plan already, but we have 2 units that we can start right away. They're empty. And then the problem is that for this one, with so many year renovation that I may just kick everybody out, but I may also do it one at a time. So I'm gonna start with the 2 empty units and maybe get someone on the 3rd unit to move out within the next 2 months, so we can tackle this one right after the first 2, and so on. So
I think these tenants are gonna be a problem to get out. So
Yeah, so
I'm in favor of getting them out because I think we're gonna have to evict, not that they're paying much money at all, but.
So it depends on the property. Like in that specific property, there is no way the business plan we have, we are going to transform it into a premium luxury apartment complex. And those people are paying way, way, way under the normal rent already. And
They're definitely not gonna be able to afford the premium prices. There were 2 people at the 8-unit, right, that ended up going from like, how much were they, like
from
800?
700 to 1,500.
Yeah.
So you could be in a situation where you start doing renovation into the property and the people are seeing what you're doing. And maybe they have suffered from the previous landlord that has done no repairs. And now they just had great deals for a long time. And now they don't want to move, but they're seeing that you are doing nice renovation and they're like, you know what, I'll pay the extra 400.
They realize the value, and a lot of times these people know that they've had a good ride on their cheap rent for a while too, so they also understand what the market rent should be.
That's the part that for that specific deal tomorrow, I have to.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those
I know.
4 tenants that we
They're not gonna
inherit will do it, but there's some situation where it happens, like 4 or 8-plex. So again, I will see based on the response, and but likely I'm gonna probably clear the whole building and do and eat up the cost of holding the building. That's the thing. But again, each scenario is different. But the BRRRR, to come back to your original question, the BRRRR principle, you can do it on any property, but you just have to create more value than what you're actually spending in renovation.
So basically, you want to add the value and you want to increase the rental, and just kind of hoping that the tenant is gonna leave, or actually we can try like push them out.
Oh, you can
Like,
definitely push them out. I mean, that's a lot of the times how we have to get the tenants out. You just give them the 30-day notice, because again, a lot of these people are on 0 leases at all, or they're on month-to-month leases. So
that's the thing. When you look at the property, you want to ask for obviously the leases. What are the current leases? If you're thinking about renovating the 3 units and the tenants have 1-year leases that are not ending before month number 10, let's say. So for the first 10 months, you're stuck. You can't kick them out. In our case, for the tomorrow's building, they're all on month-to-month. So technically, we can give them a 30 days notice and have them out. Now they can try to
they
stay.
know it's coming, yeah.
So that's the thing that I'm not too sure. We may have problems to have them leave the building. That's another thing to account for. But so get the lease, understand what they are, if it's a month-to-month lease or if it's a yearly lease, and when the people are supposed to leave the building, so you can planify or anticipate when you're gonna tackle each unit.
If uh, if they're still in a lease for let's suppose 6 months or 8 months still left, we can kick them out, or there is then a legal process to if we really want to
Yeah,
take
if
the
they're
building.
on a lease for like another 8-10 months, you just have to write it out unless you find something that they're breaking in the lease. Like they have somebody else living there, they have pets that aren't supposed to be there or something.
Yeah, I mean that's the hard way. I think I would say maybe one way is to offer them a deal. You say,
Okay.
hey,
They call it cash for keys. So basically say, hey, if you leave early and break your lease, I'll give you $500 or something to move out.
if it makes sense for you to do that, to pay them like a couple months of, hey, I'm gonna pay you the deposit for your next place, and I'm gonna give you the last months of rent for free or something like that. That's actually what we're planning on doing with the fiveplex, because we know we're getting in there. Some people have been 30 years in there, and they told me they are part of the furniture in the building. So
basically, like Michael can't kick them out. And Michael's
So-
like, yeah, okay, that's not how this works. You
so-
don't come with the building as furniture. Like we can also throw furniture out too. So.
yeah, we're planning on giving them a deal to facilitate the transition. But I don't know where it's gonna go. I anticipate we may even have to evict some people.
Yeah, I think that's what it's, but that's okay. I mean,
As long as you take that into consideration in your underwriting, it's okay.
Yep.
But
yeah.
Quick question: whenever you guys buy a building, there is always an end goal of paying off the building, or there was never been an end goal.
the end goal has never, and I don't see it will ever be paying off the building for us. We want cash flow, but we want to leverage our money to grow. So yeah, I mean, Michael, I don't, unless you think someday, I don't picture us ever paying off a building other than maybe our primary home. Other than that, we want to refi to still make it work. Even like the 10 unit that we have, probably going to refi that again, for a second time. We've had it 4 years. But yeah, my goal is not to pay off the buildings.
Okay, and what is the reason? Let's suppose, now you at the time right now, you guys are young. Let's suppose after 20 years, when you will be in your, let's suppose 65 retirement, you said we're kind of tired. We don't want to do that thing, buying and refinancing all that. We just want a stable, like $20,000-$30,000 coming in. That's good enough for us. That's where you guys literally stop. That I'm trying to see how the brain works,
That's when we'll only be limited partners in deals. Or we'll just have all the processes where we have managing managers of managers and stuff. So we're very hands off. But at that point where I see myself in 20 years as being a key KP, a key partner on deals. So I'm getting equity by signing my name just because of the net worth we have, and we're not doing any of the work, or just being limited partners on deals for cash flow every month, and that's it.
Okay.
It's an interesting question, because when we started, our first thought was, or the way we were taught about real estate was, okay, how many doors it's gonna take to replace or active income, and we were like, okay, we need to get
120. I remember
a lot of apartments. There's a pretty big number, and then you realize, well, it's not that easy to get there. And then along the journey, you also realize that, okay, maybe I don't want to hold those Class D apartments or units that we bought at the very beginning. So right now we're transitioning. So the building we're buying tomorrow, it's actually our first primary home that we sold, and we're doing a 1031 exchange. So we don't have to pay capital gain on that property, and we're putting it into that building. And that building is in a very nice location. It's in distress, I would say, but it's in great location. So once it's fixed, it's going to be a Class B asset, I would say. So we realize that now we're trying to sell our Class C, Class D units to go to nicer apartment where there's less management, less
I just want to tell one story about that. I remember, do you remember?
Lindsay, before you do, real quick, can we take a group picture because we're all on right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna forget. And Jose, are you? Yes. Okay, great. All right, guys, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Everyone's eyes open.
Let me check that. Everybody's eyes are open.
All right,
Everyone's
awesome.
great. Okay.
Whenever you guys take a picture, I'm almost in a half sleep, because
I don't, well, look at what time it is for you, so I don't blame you.
well, almost 2:30 here. Now,
Everybody's eyes are open right now. We're good. All right, sorry, Lindsay, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, when we first started in South Wilkes-Barre area, you remember that guy Mike from New York who had like 29 doors, and he said, "Oh, I want to sell these 29 units because my daughter and I want to buy 6 or 8 very nice units." And I remember at that time thinking, why would you want to sell this 29 unit portfolio to go down to 8 doors? And now I completely understand why, because that is in such a distressed area, and he was dealing, I mean, horrible units and tenants. And he saw that picture. We're at that area now where we're like, okay, we built this portfolio, but we also understand the value of having nicer assets that have a little bit less headaches now that we've grown so much. But at the beginning, and those are what we could afford at the beginning too. So it's all part of the journey and growth. But yeah, Irfan, that's kind of the ultimate vision goal, to not be doing the hand-on burrs ourselves and finding the deals, but we are having our own just managers doing it, us being KPs or just being LPs.
Yeah, because when I was writing my vision statement, that's where I put, let's suppose in 5 years replacing $30,000. And I was thinking, because let's suppose if we keep buying and to keep doing bird strategy and all these strategies, or are we looking into buying properties and pay off and making $30,000 for the rest of my life? How it's supposed to work? Because on the other hand, if I'm keep buying and doing bird and all that stuff, I'm replacing my time and energy, what I can give it to my family and somewhere else. And I was thinking how it's supposed to work. I supposed to end goal is supposed to pay off the properties and look at the $30,000 in 5 years. That's what I'm looking for, or just keep doing till when I'm gonna hit my 65. How this one's supposed to work for me?
Yeah, it's going to be different for everybody. And I think as you go through the journey, things may, change for you as well. But I think learning these and doing some of the hands-on, kind of not hands-on physically like hammer and nail yourself, but going through the process of a rehab with contractors, if you get to the point someday of being a KP or even an LP, just going through these deals, you still have to know the language and what you're looking at. You don't want to just put your whole net worth up to sign on a deal because you have 10 million net worth as a KP, but then you have no idea what the operators are actually doing, and you're just trusting them because you don't understand the terminology, the language, and you haven't done it yourself. So again, I think it's part of the journey. It's going to be different for everybody, but
let me just tell you, one of my mentors is 77, and he's been buying property for 50 years. And about 20 years ago, he was in his mid 50s. He said, "You know what? I don't want to do this anymore." And he just been paying off the properties for the past 20 years. And now he's got a phenomenal cash flow. And that was just what he decided. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. He doesn't trust anyone, so he didn't want to be an LP. So it's amazing. We had a lot of talks about it. He'd rather pay taxes than be an LP. I'm like, fine. But the point is, that was his journey, right? So now he's got a ton of apartment buildings in Los Angeles virtually paid off, because for the past 20 years, he hasn't been leveraging. Prior to that, he was very aggressive. Every time there was any equity anywhere, he pulled it and bought something else. So
yeah, it depends on everybody. I mean, we're doing an industrial deal right now. I was talking with Craig Napoleano today about it. And his only question was like, what's the depreciation going to be? That was his only question. He just wants to know, he knows me, he knows Robert, he trusts us, but he's like, I want to know what the depreciation is, because he is really just into tax preservation. So he has a different strategy, right? So it's going to be different for everybody at different parts and stages of your life. But I think it's a really great thought-provoking question, our friend.
Okay. And it's mean whatever we prioritize depending on what stage of life we are at. Okay. Yep. That's good. That's what I was thinking, how to look into the things in terms of specifically end goal. Yeah. Thank you. Right.
So you may buy 5 properties and just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna pay these off
Yeah.
and work my job and pay them off, expedite payoff. You just see how you feel as you start going.
I have a colleague, another ER physician. That's what he does. He buys and he just dumps all his paycheck into like paying down the mortgage. That's just his. We've had many talks about why I kind of disagree with that, but he is very much the James Ramsey, no debt, no debt, no debt, and that's just his personality, and no one's going to change that, and that's fine. For him, having a mortgage on anything or a loan on anything makes more stress for him than leveraging and growing your portfolio more so.
Because I do understand, because whenever we have to, because we are putting, on the other hand, we are putting a lot of our energy and time, when we try to manage and do math and numbers and all, try to keep up with all that stuff. On the other hand, he's doing, he's paying off, but he's keeping himself free, the time and all the energy, and putting it somewhere else. That's what's your priority. That's what it is.
It's absolutely different for everybody. Yep.
It's
Yep.
what's the highest and best use of your time, in
That's
according to you. So I mean, I'm constantly evaluating that.
And do you have anything else? Because you do this all day, every day. And
No, I mean the last thing I wanted to add is it also depends on the market cycle and opportunities that come to you.
Yeah.
Like you could have first of all, you can have, let's say you're in 2020, back in 2020, and you have owned a building for 10 years, and the value of your building just went up 50% because of the pandemic. I don't know, I can't predict the future, but I'm sure there's going to be other events that either are going to decrease the value of the buildings we have or increase the value of the buildings we have dramatically in a specific period of time. So again, you're going to have the market cycles, you're going to have maybe the buildings is in an area that becomes not as nice as it used to be, or you have the opportunity of buying something else and you're going to look at what asset as equity and you want to sell at that moment.
But it's your own piggy bank,
So-
and then you can pull out a bunch of equity and then use it as dry powder to go buy something at that time. So
So
Yeah,
a lot
it's a
of
great point.
variable can
Great
change
point.
in the journey. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. And again, when we started, I thought we would hold the buildings forever. And now I'm like, okay, which one I'm selling to and which one I'm buying, like,
Yeah.
which one I'm trading.
I mean, I think I said it last week or the week before. It's real life Monopoly.
But-
It's a fun game to be able to trade and trade up and.
So, and I think we're still in growth mode and we're looking at properties that there's not many juice to squeeze out of the property. So maybe it's time to sell it and to put it into something where we can, again, create value faster than just holding with the...
Yeah, I mean, if you ask us in 10 years, we'll probably have a little bit different answer than we do now, to be quite honest.
That's a great takeaway. Just, you don't necessarily have to know your end goal.
Yeah, yeah.
It's more about getting started, getting in it
Yes.
and evolving. And I think that was
Yep.
a major block for me earlier on, or, first joining this. How am I going to do this? And listening to, you and Lauren and where you are, I'm never going to get there, or this is what I can do and I can. So I think it's, now I'm so motivated to get started and figure it out as I go. So I think
That's one of the biggest compliments to Lauren and I, to hear something like that, that to realize, yes, you can do it. And yeah, you don't have to have all the answers, but really to get started and just start being consistent with action steps. That is what will lead you to success one way or the other.
yeah.
The apartment building I bought 14 months ago, I thought I'd hold it forever. Just so you know, we're selling it now. And that was 14 months ago. So, I mean, it's, but I'm excited with what the Capitol's going to do next. So
Yeah.
it's, it's just about getting started. But I know, Erica, you still need to jump off early? Oh, you don't? Okay, good.
Sorry, I muted it. Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, sorry, we can finish this then. Do you want to add anything else? Jose, I think you had something you wanted to say?
In terms of like updates with myself.
Oh no, I thought you were trying to interject at one point there. No?
Oh no,
It's me.
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Hey, sorry.
Oh, it was Dan.
Yeah, sorry.
I just a quick question about, I think a yearly for those properties for the rent. I think I was a tenant, so I received those yearly renewal lease, and then naturally they increase the lease like certain percent.
Mhm.
What's the usual practice from like a landlord saying that, hey, we increase this lease to a certain percent, or you choose not increase the lease? Are there any like standard follow up or things
Yeah.
like that?
So
Yeah.
it depends on the property and,
Well, so
but yeah,
first of all, I guess it depends on the market.
Yeah.
You could be in a rent control market where
Yeah.
you can't increase.
like in California, right? You can only 3% max a year, even if the market rent is 2,000 and the tenant's paying 300, you're screwed.
It's 5%, Lindsay. Come on.
Wow, oh, that's really gonna.
Right?
Increase
I
better.
think my philosophy, that's what so first of all, it's on case by case. So based on the property, the tenant, if I know it's hard to re-rent or not, if I see that they're having problems to pay or not, I may have a different strategy. As a general, like,
If they're a very, very, very good tenant and you know you're in a recession, you might not want to bump it up that, even 3% just to push them out.
So first of all, in our strategy, we'll rehab the place, so I'm getting the max rent I can get for the area. But after that, when we renew, I will try to give a small increase. So one strategy that I do is first of all, I will look at the inflation rate for the year. So let's say if it's 3%, I'll probably give the rent increase aligned with the inflation. That's the first thing. Now, if I know the tenant has had hard time, but it's probably a good tenant, I may skip it to help them out and keep the unit occupied.
If
So
they're a bad tenant and you want to kick them out, you might put a $300 rent increase and get them out.
That's a consideration I'm gonna take, because you have to think if you have to re-rent and you're losing 1 month, maybe 2 months of rent because you can't find someone easily.
And you have to consider the turn costs too. You're gonna have to repaint, recarpet, and all that kind of stuff too.
So you have to account for all those factors. But in general, I think unless my property is way under market, in that case, I will do a screenshot of Rentometer, for instance. I will look at properties like apartments that have the same size and how much do they rent for. And then in the lease renewal decision form, I guess, I offer them different choices. So let's say the current rent is $1,000. I may offer like 1050 for if you sign for another year lease, and I may offer 1100 for a 6 months lease. So I give them kind of an option. Or on month to month, I may offer it for 1200. So they have the choice.
It's a psychological trick too, because then you're giving them multiple
I
choices.
remember that.
But
Yeah.
that's a great point, Michael. He literally prints out the rentometer. So when they see this $150 rent increase, they're not like, oh, this guy's just an asshole. Be like, no, this is really what things are going for. So you're almost giving them like an objective proof of concept of why you want the rents to go up. So that's a good point.
If you and I will do it, I will do that comparison if I really need to increase the rent by quite a bit because it's way under rented, and I'll say, hey, this is what people are paying in the area.
Yeah.
You have the choice to stay here and you don't have to move, pay for the moving fee and so on, and go through the whole process. That's gonna be the new cost. Or you find somewhere else, but just so you know, that's probably what you're gonna pay. That's the average in the area. So I had the Rentometer screenshot along with the decision form and plus the different options that they have. And again, the months to months, because some people also they are like they don't know and they see the months to months and they may opt for the flexibility of leaving whenever they are, but they understand they're gonna have to pay more for the lease, and it's pretty much helping you pay for the. the guy that lives in the middle of the
I was
winter.
gonna say, we always try to time the rent renewals so that it's ending in the summer too. You don't want to end them in the winter. That's the worst time to get tenants in.
So that, yeah, that's another thing. So for instance, we have houses at a lake, and I know they are very hard to release in January
Yeah.
when it's snowing here in PA or whatever.
Yeah.
Might be different in Texas. But what I would say, if the guys are asking me, the tenants are asking me, hey, can I add another 6 months, and it ends up, the lease ends up December 31st, I'm like, probably not.
Yeah.
Or if you want that, I'm gonna charge you, you know, I'm gonna calculate, probably I'm gonna lose 2 months of rent because I probably won't find anyone until, you know, the snow melts. So I'm considering all those factors when I send them a decision form. Yeah.
And generally, I mean, if you look at large syndicated deals, things like that, you know, generally speaking, they try to put a 3% rent escalator per year. Just
in
to
the underwriting,
yeah, into the underwriting, just to give you a benchmark. But everything Michael just said is yeah, exactly my process as well.
I think it's
if you want something in your head, that's something.
I think it's easier to charge. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I said Michael is talking about the mass class of the rent increase.
Yeah, I was, as he talking, I was like, he can do a whole module on this. We'll have module like 6.5.8.
Yeah.
A very sophisticated analysis.
I think psychologically, it's easier to raise the rent by 3% at $25 every year than do nothing for 3 years and then come back the 4th year. Hey, now it's $150 extra.
Yeah. It's almost like, if you, I want to say train a tenant, but a lot of people, they'll expect some type of a bump every year.
But when you say 3%, it applies to all type of rental properties, single family home, you know, apartments and everything, and it's all over the state. Is like 3%, that's the rule?
It's not a rule. That's just kind of the general thing that if you're not sure, that you'll put in your underwriting. That's just very, very general basics, not any type of hard and fast rule at all.
Yeah.
I mean, for any type of property, right?
Yeah, I mean, the industrial, even that has like, I think it's 5%.
Well, it depends on, again, it depends on the market, how the class asset evolve. Like, for instance, she was talking about industrial in Allentown area, which is northeast PA, close to New York, and there's a lot of development in the industrial space. So if you look at reports of the rent increase over the last 5 years, if it's 5% average, then that might be 5% the increase. But I was just saying 3% because the normal inflation in the US should be around 2%. I think that's the target from the Fed. Obviously, the last few years is way over that. So if we had years at what, 9% in the recent years. So if you're offering 3% of increase, you can say, hey, just so you know, I'm nice. I'm just increasing the rent by 3%, but the national inflation is 9%. So it's just, again, depending on the context. And with tenants, I decide purposely not to increase because I think maybe when they moved in the first year, I think I was lucky to get them. Like, for instance, you have to think during the pandemic, for instance, the rents where people were fighting to get apartments or houses. So you may not even get the same rent if you try to release it now.
Michael, there's one inflation thing, other thing is market and demand. You know, let's suppose, you know, we know the overall statewide, you know, the inflation is going 5% or 10%, but the market you live in, for some reason, the demand is not, you know, demand is going, you know, on the inverse side, you know, then how do you really manage, you know, because the market I live in Texas, let's suppose hypothetically, you know, in Texas, Houston, the demand is not there anymore, you know.
Yeah, that happens all over. You have to, it's called a rent concession. So you might have to actually drop rent prices or to get people to move in, and you'll see signs on some places saying first month free or first 2 months free. So that's a rent concession to get to make up for that. or if there was a abundance of buildings that were built or something like that. Now you're dealing with a lot more competition. So yeah, that happens. That definitely happens.
And do you think, let's suppose if someone is paying me $2,000 a month, let's suppose, but the market is not anymore, it's not demanding anymore. Do you think I can also go inversely, I'm going to decrease the rent? That also happens from $2,000 to $1,900 to keep my tenants in?
I think if your tenant's paying, don't decrease it prophylactically. But if they're saying, I'm going to move, and you really want to keep them, say, well, why do you want to move? What's your pain point? What can I do to make you stay? So at that point you might, but if they're paying, I wouldn't just say, oh, I see other signs saying rent concession. Don't do that.
You never? Because when I used to be a tenant, specifically in my apartment complex, she used to raise my rent every year 50 or 75, minimum 50 and 75. And one time I asked her, how does this thing work? She told me we go adjust by a market. And I remember asking her, because every year you raise rent minimum 50 or 75, ever it happens, it goes, you're going to, give me a discount. Not a discount, it goes, but that's what I remember she telling me, it's all dependent on the market. If market goes down, I'm going to decrease the rent. It goes both ways. But it ever happens in your case, they ever decrease the rents?
No.
Never?
My Florida property rents are way down, and my property manager said that I'm getting $2,600 a month for the property. He said if they move out, I'm probably going to have to decrease it to $2,300 a month. Like that's how significant.
Yeah, but that's because they're moving out for some other reason.
Correct.
It's not like it's not like your property manager just saying, hey, Lauren, the rest of the market's down, I'm just gonna go ahead and decrease the rent for
absolutely not. Never.
Yeah.
No. But understanding that, I'm not going to push rents. I'm not going to raise
right,
rent.
exactly. Yep.
So, and he wanted to sign a 2-year lease at the current rents. I'm like, absolutely, go for it. So, it's even if the market around, it's also expensive for him to move, and he's made this home his home. So, it's you just got to kind of measure the situation. And there's a lot to consider. And yes, I think we'll add a module to the course on this because you're absolutely right. It's an important one.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, each market has different behavior, right? You mentioned Texas. There's a ton of new construction that came in the market near Houston and Dallas. So in Florida, it's the same thing. A lot of people migrated to Florida and then realized that rents were too expensive now. And you see the reverse effect of the pandemic where the rents are going down in Texas and Florida, and they still are going up in the Northeast corridor, I guess. Like New York, the rents are up. So each market has different behavior, and you have to be very well aware of that. But keep in mind, your expenses I think they always keep going up. So
yeah. It's not like UGI or the electric company is just going to say, it's a tough year, we're just going to decrease like the electricity expenses.
Yeah.
Everything goes up for everybody else, especially in hard times.
Right. I want to make sure we go forward because I know we're losing lives at 6, 9 your time. But we can regroup on that if you guys have more questions. Absolutely. And just in general, you all have access to us. It's just because the course is ending today. We consider all of you now friends of ours, so please reach out. Zan, I want an email when your property closes. I want a picture of you in front of it. Like we would just are totally your cheerleaders here. So please continue. And so along those lines, we really would love feedback on the online course, on this experience, on the 8-week guided study. We'll be reaching out to you guys separately about that. I'd really love to be able to hop on with you even for 10 minutes and record a Zoom, just asking you some questions, like a little testimonial. We'll email all of you after this. And if you're comfortable, please do respond and let us know, and we can arrange something with you because we'd really love to be able to get those from you. And then lastly, referrals. If you guys know anyone who you think may benefit from this experience, please send them our way. We'd love to. We'll start a cohort, another cohort probably in another month or so. We'd love to just, if you have anyone you think may be interested, feel free to send them our way.
Lauren, I'm so sorry you was breaking. You was saying something about an email. What do you need an email for? That's the same email.
we'll email you. We'll email you. Yeah.
I'll definitely continue to involve this group and through the chat and Facebook, and I will be definitely just hear from everyone how they're doing and how their journey. I know I started here, and a lot of people in this group probably going to start here. As I wanted to kind of this is a class 2024 to me, so with all the classmates here.
I love it. Yeah, and like post to the Facebook group too, because we're on there as well. And any updates, like anytime you guys buy a property or the questions on the rent increase, just post to it. Well, if you're obviously always welcome to call and email us too, but chances are if you have a question, let's say you have a renewal coming up, Stan,
Yeah.
and you have a question, chances are other people are gonna have that question too. So even posting it to the Facebook group and letting everyone know, what the question is, we can answer it publicly for you guys.
I think it's a good idea too. If somebody starts to like maybe forget about real estate and kind of start dropping off, seeing more text might get them back like, oh yeah, shit, I should be really doing taking action steps too.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this rate cut, boy? Like 50% of the rate cut, how that gonna affect the real estate, and is that gonna change your strategy in terms of like whether you're going to refinancing or burst strategy?
I don't think it's going to change our strategy. Oh, go ahead, Michael. I know we've.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
We talk about this a lot, yeah.
We have a ton of projects that we bought with a business plan that implies a refinance 2 to 3 years after the purchase price. So the cuts that was given yesterday is just the start of multiple cuts. And next year,
it's a big cut too. Usually the 50 basis cuts. I mean,
So basically next year we should be in position to refi a lot of our project, which means for us a lot of money equity being pulled from the projects that are
for
available.
you guys, it's a good time to buy. Your rates are going to be lower too.
So it's a good time to buy, but
it's a good time to refi too. If you
I think there's going to be more players coming back to the market if the rates go back to the 5%, for instance. There's going to be way more buyers. So and that's why, for instance, the building we're buying tomorrow, we're buying it at 7.5%. But I know within 1 year, the building will be completely transformed, and I'll be able to refinance it probably in the fives.
Next year, yeah.
So that's gonna help the cash flow, and that's gonna help the valuation. The cap rates are probably gonna go down, and that's validate the strategy that we have had is not to be afraid. With the storm to pass, which was 2 years of very high interest rate, and I think we're gonna be back to more normal interest rates in the mid 2025. So again, there's two components of that validate our strategy, but I think there's gonna be more players coming back into it. So don't wait too long to buy, I guess.
I mean, there's always deals. I've said this before in any market cycle. I mean, Lauren, Michael, and I, we've been active through this whole time when a lot of people got scared with the rates going up, and we kept buying. And now we're just in a good place to refinance, even when we bought on those high rates, and we've been doing the value adds. And we've been looking. So, I mean, some of these deals that had passed by because the sellers were hoping to get more, now they're coming back to us because they didn't sell, and now they're getting a little bit more desperate. So I guess the main point is always be active no matter what the market cycle.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. I think we're going to see more players come on the market. I think if anything, the interest rate cuts, a lot of people expected the half point. So it was kind of already built into the market. Rates have already started dropping, and but the consumer confidence that comes with this rate cut, we are now in an interest rate cut environment officially, and that's really significant for consumer confidence. And so I think that's when we start to see more competition. So yeah, keep going, guys. So
a lot of people holding on buying their house, they probably start thinking about buying their house, and it's for those people that already have the property, so it's a good time to consider sell them or even refinance. I think it's so definitely in a good position either way.
Exactly. Right.
I have a quick question. I guess like this is very like personal, but basically like my situation right now is me and my husband, we're kind of ready to buy, but we just don't really know. We buy something like I found like a couple properties that are still making a little bit of money, or do we buy something that needs more work so we can grow the appreciation? So I kind of, what are your guys' thought on that? I know.
I mean, I think everybody here knows what my
I know
thoughts
what
would
yours
be.
are. I know. So it's just like I felt like before I was just like single family. I'm just gonna slow and steady, try to do, and now I'm like completely switching because I'm like, well, we have, it's my husband and I were just kind of building just ourselves, and I'm like, it would be just so nice to take our money, our savings virtually, and then,
All right.
ball it into snowball it into something else. So it's like, I don't
You
know.
have it.
I think at the beginning, that's what I would more encourage you. I mean, obviously, if that's against every grain in your body to be on any type of risk at all, then that's not for you. But if you're game for that, that's what I would encourage.
Taylor, do the BRRRR strategy. You're so young. Even if, I mean, you can recover even if things go crazy. Like, just, I mean, I think where you're at and where your husband's at, just, you've got your cash, just move it from property to property using the BRRRR strategy. You just need a really solid construction team or a contractor. And that's the number one thing for what you're doing it, because that's, we can help you through nuances around it, but you've got to have a contractor that's not going to steal your money.
I know.
That's
live and learn.
I know, because Lindsay and Michael had that happen. So,
thoughts on like, I'm on a Facebook group and it's like, I mean, I just joined it. I don't ever write, but it's like off market deals. And like people post things, it's like off market real estate Missouri. And like people post kind of these properties and they seem to kind of fit that BRRRR method, but I'm like, do I trust these? How does that work? Have you guys ever bought something off like that?
Not from like a Facebook group per se, but we bought sight unseen, right? I mean, I would definitely suggest having somebody or like contacting a realtor in Missouri if you're not there or something. Somebody needs to go and like FaceTime with you and give their input for sure.
I mean, I would say if you're looking for like a heavy rehab project, take it close to you where you live, especially at the beginning.
You'll have a partner that lives there. Like somebody on your team needs to be very close to the heavy lift project.
Yes, I agree.
Now, I mean, opportunities on Facebook, the 16-plex we have in Scranton, I saw the deal on Facebook through a local Facebook group. Okay.
Investing group, yeah.
And I saw it priced at 1.5 million and I kind of laughed at it.
And he never reached out. It was our partner actually.
And then somehow partners reached out to the guy and got it under contract. We bought it for 1.06, I think.
So $500,000 off the list price, just because one of our partners saw the value and understood negotiation, and to reach out and explain to the seller why his price was crazy. So he educated the seller on it, and it's a great place.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything wrong with listing on Facebook. You just have to validate that it's a deal, and then that it matches your strategy, and which include the location where you want to invest. But I think to your original question, because it seems like from what I heard last time, I think the question you had is, do I need to go with more rehabs to create more value? Was that what you were trying to imply?
Yeah, just kind of like, my husband and I both have W-2s, we have our savings, and it's like where we're at, how do we make our money worth, how do we get the best value for what we're going to basically
it's the BRRRR for you.
Right. And that, to me, I mean, the most value you can create is going to be on those deals with distressed properties. If you buy a property that is a Class A, all clean with great tenants and max rent already, you're not going to get a good deal out of it. And there's going to be a lot of competition probably for it. So For us, what we have found in our experience, and I'm not suggesting to go with, like, again, super heavy rehab at first, but you may find something in between that a lot of people will not take because they might be afraid to redo a kitchen or a bathroom, which is actually not like a very challenging project. Most people, they want something where it's walk in, it's plug in, I call that plug and play, and you have nothing to do. That's what most people want, but you're not creating much value there. And you have a lot of competition. So try to find maybe the property that looks clean, but maybe looks like a 1970 residence, and you can upgrade it by just changing cabinets and changing the bathtub.
Orange shag carpet and wood paneling.
Thank you.
And Rachel in Kansas City, who I connected you to, Taylor, she has people there that are good, she says. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and the key is also have the construction team.
Yeah.
Me right now, I feel so confident with the project we're tackling locally because I know the guys we have, they can do everything. And that's like that's a big insurance. If I didn't have them, I would probably not buy the property we're getting tomorrow. So that's the thing. You need to secure people that are decent in price, but not the cheapest especially, but they can go from A to Z and finish the job and in a good time frame, so you don't hold the property for 2 years before you get some income. So and it's probably at the start, it's probably better to overpay your contractor. I mean, pay like above average contractors to make sure the job is done properly and on time versus trying to nickel everything down.
On dime, yeah.
Eliza's saying goodbye. Have you already left, Liza?
I have to drop right now. I have to dial in. So
Bye,
thank
Liza.
you all. Good luck.
Thank you, Liza.
And I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Some
See
of
you
you.
soon. We'll be in New York soon. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other questions on that, Taylor? Should we go on?
No, thank you.
I remember I was Lauren, I was asking you pretty much same kind of question, and I remember you asking, once you buy your first property, it literally answers a lot of your questions,
Yeah.
it's literally unleashing your confidence, right?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Exactly. All right, so we want to go through a few deals. We just figured, I know that we're kind of at time, but I think just a few deals going through would be great just to end it and just to get you guys thinking in a certain way. First, we just wanted to, again, congratulate Zan for removing contingencies and moving forward. Did want to ask, you got the $16,000. Was it a credited close or a price drop?
It's just price drop.
Price drop, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
so
the foundation that we find that needed some work, so we asked for the reduction and then seller agree. So I just thinking like needs the foundation repair. It seems like something in the future is gonna happen, but I don't know the timing wise whether this is gonna be some kind of immediate repair. I wanted to kind of defer at least a year or so we can have some cash flow reserve. Yeah, so I think like, how do you guys approach for those something that you need to repair, but not something that you need to fix right away? Is that something this is an old property, so I know when walking into this deal that there's something kind of behind the wall going to happen. Do you have any usual way you go? Something like some kind of things that you don't need to fix just for the living condition purposes, but you kind of expected that things gonna happen, things gonna repair, and this is pretty big repair, and you kind of expect it. Is that
you can't, yeah, I mean, expect the unexpected, but you're not going to be able to know what that's going to be, right? So
But your question is, can I wait? Is that your question?
Yeah,
can I depends on what the repair is.
So first of all, if it's an emergency and your building is about to collapse because it's not fixed yet, you have to fix it.
Yeah.
It's a crack, and I mean, we're buying buildings that are from the early 20th century, so 100, 120 years old, and there's cracks on some beams, but the building has been standing for 100+ years. So
My mom's house that she still lives in, I grew up in, was built in the late 1700s. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of shit that can be repaired, but keep
So-
looking.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, figure out with the contractor if it's an immediate need repairs or not. If it's within a unit, let's say a leak that is dripping on the bed of your tenant, yeah, that's gonna
If
be a
it's
problem.
leak, if it's mold, if it's asbestos, if it's open wiring, yeah, it's gonna that you need to fix.
Right. If it's
As far as the foundation goes, though, I would ask your foundation inspector if they feel like it's an emergency. Obviously, they're probably gonna be like, "Oh yeah, sure, you need to do it now." But you can get an idea from them about, you know, just kind of probe them a bit about what to expect.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I mean, I've certainly put off, you know, things that are not dangerous for the tenant and dangerous for your property. Yeah, I've certainly put it off.
Okay.
we had so the 10-plex we bought back in 2020. One of the tenants, she was in a wheelchair, and we had this concrete suspended deck right off as she would leave her apartment, and it was like holes.
Yeah.
When I say suspended deck, it's suspended at like 12, maybe 15 feet high.
Yeah.
And you had literally, you could see through the deck, and
It was an immediate safety issue.
and I was like, okay, I need to fix that right away,
Right.
otherwise I'm gonna be sued and lose the building. So if it's that obvious, yeah, you need to fix it. If it's a crack on the wall, and that has been for the last 15 years, I mean, you probably won't know that portion, but unless the things is moving by the day, it's probably not gonna collapse tomorrow. So that's the thing that you're gonna have to figure out with a contractor that doesn't want your money right away, I guess.
And kind of if you decide in a few years you decide to sell that property, is that something you kind of wanted to fix like before you sell, or
Not
this is
necessarily.
not
No.
necessarily?
Not necessarily.
It's gonna be like you
Like, we
buying it
just sold
today.
our primary home and there was a foundation issue in the garage. It was down a couple of feet and the seller or the buyer didn't even care.
Right.
So
Yeah, in the garage we had concrete blocks basically, and one of the blocks was starting to sink. It was kind of already sinking when we bought it. We didn't.
not at all to the extent that when we sold it.
Right. It was sinking by 1 inch when we bought it, and by the time we sold it, it was maybe 3 or 4, which I thought the buyer would ask to get it repaired from our side, and
She didn't, so we
the
didn't fix
realtor
it.
told us, "Hey, don't repair it before they ask it you to," and she didn't ask for it. So
You have to disclose it, and you'll do that on the seller's disclosures. But it doesn't necessarily mean something you have to do.
Right.
Okay. All right, and then I just wanted to share this situation. This is going to be only a couple of minutes, but just so you can understand how fluid real estate is, and you don't really know what's going to happen. But I think I mentioned on our last call on Tuesday, a couple days ago, I was scheduled to close, meaning sell one of our apartment buildings in Kansas City. It's a joint venture. I've got a few partners and 36 units, and we were supposed to close on Tuesday. Well, on Tuesday or Monday, I should say, the day prior, we found out that our buyer's DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, wasn't high enough. As we've talked about in past lessons, most lenders require it to be at like 1.2 before they will lend on the property. Well, come to find out, this lender, you know, the loan officer was desperate, provided a letter that was not valid to the buyer. Then the buyer got all this way, and then they wouldn't lend. So they came to us and said, we still want to buy this property, but we need to go back. We need to go to a new lender. We know how long that could take. Yeah. So what they did was, we said yes, but they need to put in more earnest money deposit. So they put in another $25,000 in earnest money deposit, and it went hard that day. And what that means is If they don't get a lender, we keep their earnest money deposit. So that's what that means. Like when it goes hard, it's non-refundable. So they put in another $25,000 non-refundable EMD on top of their previous EMD, and they asked for another 2-week extension. So we issued an addendum to the purchase agreement to give them another 2 weeks to close. So this was something completely unexpected. I already had an idea of where the money was going, and now I don't have it. And so, you know, this is the kind of stuff that happens in real estate all the time. So I just wanted to share this story, and you know, I do expect it to close. The situation seems like everyone's on the up and up, and we'll see. But this is a scenario I just wanted to share with you guys.
We also
So
had
don't worry is the point when things like this happen. And submitting additional earnest money deposit that goes hard right away gives you that reassurance that, okay, well, they're serious. The buyer's serious and confident.
This week, Laura and I had mentioned to you when we talked on the phone earlier today, but like I said, we're closing on this place tomorrow, and it was 2 days ago. Our the lawyer contacted us and said, hey, your 1031 exchange is not going to be valid, and basically we wouldn't be able to use that to save on all these taxes because we had owned the original one in our name, Lindsay and Michael Duguay, because we used to live in it. It was our primary home. But what we're closing on tomorrow, the 6th unit, is under an LLC. So we were going from one entity to another, and they said, you can't do that. So we had to scramble and get 2 new LLCs, one in my name, one in his name, because again, it was Lindsay Duguay and Michael Duguay, 2 people that owned this property before. And they had to file by 12 o'clock on Wednesday. Otherwise we wouldn't have been able to use our 1031. So like we had a stressful kind of beginning of the week. Michael did all of it, thank God, thank you. But now we're still able to close on Fridays. So things pop up, just know that, and you just need to be able to get through it.
And now you guys have us in your back pocket. So if things do pop up and you don't really know what to do, kind of like Zan, you and I were talking the day before contingencies need to be removed. Like, what do we do here? What's the strategy? Just call us. You know, this is why we're here and why we did this. Okay, I know we're getting close, but we do want to share another thing. This was a Spring Hill Plaza. It's a passive syndication that just came to Lindsay and I yesterday, actually. So we just want to share this with you because this is another example of you know, things that just pop up and opportunities that get shared. And you know, now you guys have the tools in your toolbox to review these sorts of deals and know if it meets your desired, you know, strategy. So again, this is a passive syndication. It's a 60 unit apartment. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep. Okay.
Okay. 60 unit apartment building. It's currently 100% occupied, B class, all classics, meaning that it's all original, that has not been renovated since it was originally constructed. And it's in Spring Hill, Kansas, which is in Kansas, like Kansas City Metro. So anyways, these are the kinds of things, as we've shown you in the past. Lindsay and I just got this yesterday. We're both going to be investing it, and we're both raising money for it as well. But this gives you an idea of, you're looking at IRR, your annualized rate of return, 5 to 7 year hold, cash on cash return 7.5%. You put in 100,000, you can expect 7,500 a year in cash. Equity multiple during the hold period is 2. I'm running through this quickly because I'm assuming you all know what this means, but you know, let me know if not. But anyways, there's the purchase price is 6.6 million, built in 1988. And again, 100% occupied, can be self-managed by the operator. And these are what
like these, just to say, there's a mix of the units too, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. So different people can have different types of units, which is good. We kind of like to see that unique mix on these bigger syndication deals.
Right. So I want to share this with you because again, this week alone, we've had a lot of movement, just Lindsay and I. So this is the kind of stuff that you'll be getting as you network and decide what your strategy is. And
yeah, we have a lot going on between closing the 6 unit. We're obviously doing this 60 unit, and we're raising for the industrial one too, which is pretty much 20 minutes from where I grew up. So a lot of different projects.
And so the last one that I have here is Junko had sent a 6 unit that she wanted us to look at. And I just thought it'd be great for us to quickly just review it together. The list price is $399,000 and the current income is $3,600 or almost $3,700. So it almost meets the 1% rule. So this is something just on the top of the, you know, just in quick glance, like, okay, this could work. Now I'm going to share with you the listing so that you can see what it. There we go. Sorry, guys. So when she sent it over, we took a quick look at the listing, and here it is. So this is in oh, I thought it was in Scranton. This is in Pittston. I don't know if that's nearby each other. But
it's kind of in the middle between where we
okay.
live and Scranton. It's right in the middle, but Pittston's a nice area.
Okay. All right. So this is one that she had identified as a potential BRRRR strategy. So she has identified the market's being a bit under rent, but where it lands now, again, it's about $400,000. As you can see, it looks like the units are not renovated. Now, the first question I asked her is, are the units all occupied, or are there any vacant units? Because per Michael's conversation earlier, that helps you determine the strategy. If there's any vacant units in here, you can decide, all right, this is the candidate for the BRRRR strategy. Maybe there's 2 vacants. I can go ahead and start on those as soon as we close. So that's something to understand whenever you're looking at this, especially.
My first impression is that this doesn't look bad at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's $600 the rent roughly per apartment. You have 6 apartments. Pittston is a good location.
Yeah.
That's close to our 8-plex actually.
Yeah.
Is 1 2-bedrooms, 3 1-bedrooms, 2 studio apartments.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the rents can go, and it doesn't seems to be show some pictures maybe.
Yeah.
I mean the
Oh,
units are in.
The ceilings are a bit strange.
Probably have some basement units as well.
Yeah, definitely dated. Clean, like, I mean, clean, but definitely dated. Yeah, so there's definitely room to, oh, what a nice little garden in the back and stuff too.
And it said it had 10 parking spaces. That's what the list said.
Yeah, I mean, first glance, this is very interesting.
I wasn't sure because like when I look at it, so it's like 1% roll, it doesn't really meet currently, like so like 36, like in like about 3,700, it's not even meeting like 1% roll. So I was like, oh, maybe not. And I was looking at the rent meter, and then it didn't show studio average rental because I guess there's no studio in that region. So I couldn't really get the estimate that like how much, like you can rent it out studio in that region, but seems to be really low to me. So I wasn't sure if this is something that like I can apply the bar method and just increase, or this is something that I shouldn't even go into because the current rent is already too low. So like I can't really, like I wasn't sure.
I think $600 even for a studio now is really low.
Yeah.
And it's not in bad shape. I think with some renovation in the units, you can bring them probably close to $900 to $1,000. So that's where I was kind of trying to explain earlier, is that you have to find the right balance. What's the max rent you can get for a studio in that location, whether it's 900 or 1,000, and how much renovation you have to put to get there. So if by putting 15K a unit, you can bring the rent from 6 to 1,000, you're probably gonna create enough value to be able to be in position to refi and pull a lot of money out. And it might be the case. I don't know. It's I feel like it could be the case. You'll have to put it on the spreadsheet like the ones I've shared before, where you can input your capex, you can put the renovation over like 24 months, show the evolution of the rents and the expenses throughout that period, and see if it makes sense. But $399
for 60, yeah, this is nice.
I think it's worth underwriting it properly,
Yeah.
which mean again, it's figure out what's the right what's the max rent you can get for the scene. You have a 3-bedroom, I think. Is that correct in the listing?
Yes. So I think 1 3-bed, 1 bathroom, and
It's,
I think that was
it's 1 2-bed, 3 1-beds and studios.
Yeah, Jungle, definitely worth looking
You
into.
said 1 3-bed and 1 2-bed?
1 2-bed, 3 1-beds.
Okay, yeah. I mean, 2 beds, the city next to Pittston were, again, we put a lot of money in them, but we're renting them for $1,550, $1,600. So without even going too crazy, but maybe renovating the cabinets, the bathroom, you put LVP on the floor, it might cost you 15K, let's say, or 20K, and you may go from 600 or 700 probably for the 2-bedroom to 1350, for instance. So if you increase the rent by, let's say, 600 and you only spend 20K, that's a good ratio, I would say.
I mean, it's a nice area. It's nice and clean outside. Honestly, I'm surprised that it's even still in the market after 27 days.
Yeah, the outside looks great. There's not much on the outside that you have to do. I don't know. It definitely worth looking at it.
Yeah.
But in a situation like this, you've done the cash flow calculator, you see, but as is, if you were to buy it and do nothing, it will probably cash flow around 5%. Then at this point, now that you've got that understanding, that's when you move over to the more deep underwriting that Michael does, that we have that module on, where you go in on when he did the walk through the 8-unit, just underwrite it more deeply so that you can put the plan together.
Right, because and I'm not too familiar with the spreadsheet you showed, but I assume that's the cash on cash as of today. But those deals, you should not look too much at the cash on cash year 1 while you're renovating. It's probably gonna be close to 0.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, I don't care. I'm looking at year 2 when it's stabilized and what's gonna be the new NOI and the new value that I've created. And after the second mortgage, when you refi, what's gonna be the cash flow there? And if it's 6-7%, and you have pulled maybe half of your money, but that's pretty good.
Jungle, the meetup's next Thursday, right? In Scranton?
Yes.
You should reach out to the realtor. I mean, if it's still on the market, try to set up something. I mean, I don't know what your work schedule is or not, but stop, because Pittston's not far from Scranton where the meetup's going to be.
Yes.
So go see.
So that's what's kind of like, that was my plan, to kind of see if I can go there and kind of see.
Yep. And see if there's anything else in the area too, to look at while you're there. Make a half day out of it, touring properties, look at the area, and then go to the meetup. It'll be a fun day for you.
Yes. And then you say you're able to come?
Yeah, I'm gonna come next Thursday. Yep.
So, and you can start to request information from these, from the realtor.
And then for the underwriting, so that's something that's okay. So now I do inspection. Let's say just moving forward, then I could bring in contractor to kind of see exactly how much needs to be done. Okay.
Yep.
For this,
and this is something. Yeah. Go ahead.
For this property, since it is cash flowing, would you just raise rents and then do it one by one as they move out?
Yes, I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, it would depend on more once you get to it and everything, but I would start renovating a unit at a time without kicking everybody out. This one already looks better than the one we're buying tomorrow, where, like Michael said, we'll probably just try to get everybody out of the building.
Yeah, so one of the consideration too is two consideration you have to have. One is, do you have a construction loan, for instance? And the construction loan, you have 1 year to spend the money. So if you're just waiting that your first tenant lives in month 8, for instance, that might be a problem. The second thing is sometime, and probably not here, but for the building, for instance, we're buying tomorrow, and that's one point I didn't mention, but sometimes to renovate one unit, you need to pass wires and pipes through another one. So I need to clear 2 units that are on top of each other. So that's the other things you have to consider. Here, I think the plan, I'm just looking at it, maybe it's like a new fresh coat of paint, changing the cabinets from that brown to the white, putting stainless steel appliances, maybe changing the shower, maybe not even. That might be just it. So you don't have to change the electricity, change the plumbing, and so on. So it's easier to do that one at a time. But again, it has to be connected with your method of financing it. If it's just from your own cash, well, you can do it at your own rhythm. If you have a loan attached to it, well, you may have to disburse the loan within a quick period of time.
So this is like a traditional, this is not traditional loan. This is gonna be like a hard money
No, I would
loan.
do a traditional loan on this.
Traditional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will go to the
Yeah.
bank, community bank. It will say, hey, I plan to, I don't know, $100,000 of renovation, let's say. Give me a construction loan, so purchase 75% of the purchase and up to 100% of the construction
Yeah.
part. Within the
Most aren't doing 100% construction anymore. What did we get on the last one? 75%, yeah. So they'd give you, you know, $300,000 mortgage, say you're paying 400, you know, total, and then they'd give you $75,000 construction loan. So you'd be coming up with 125 plus, you know, some closing costs. So this would be a good one to do with a partner, you know, split the costs.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, to me, that's a great candidate.
this is
again,
very nice.
I don't want to tell you the numbers work, but it's possible, and I think it's a great.
This is a great burr without being too distressed.
It's a great property where it's not too much
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
And I was saying, oh, look, it's 1970 style. Well, you see, I see the window frame. It's like wood. The vanity, it's an older wood thing. Personally, to get to the $1,000 rent, I will make it more appealing, visually appealing, but it's not. It goes quick. I mean, a studio, like a good contractor, he can turn that in maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
When you, quick question. I have a quick question, you know. When you make remodeling like a when you do remodeling, you know, like a property like this, you also need to look into what type of neighborhood. Let's suppose if I'm going to go with a very contemporary, very modern look, might be in this neighborhood, we're going to get enough amount of money out of it in terms of rent. Do we need to make sure it's the right neighborhood to spend?
Absolutely. Yeah, because if you're making a beautiful luxury contemporary, but all the other houses on the street are like drug houses, absolute waste of money for you to put in those type of features.
Yeah, that's a great question. We didn't look at the exact location. I mean, I know Pittston, it's between Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. It's actually kind of up and coming. So I know the rents are fairly elevated. There might be some areas of Pittston I'm not aware that might not be great. But if you're close to, I know the center city, which it looks like you're not that far.
I'm looking at the map right now. The River Middle School.
Is it Pittston? Okay, yeah, you're not far from the main street. Looks like there's a factory next door. I will check on what it is, but I know the main street, we're trying to make it just walkable, no cars and so on. There's a lot of restaurants and bars that are kind of popping in that area. Yeah. So it's, again, that I will need to study a little more, but that one is actually fairly good.
Yeah, it is.
It will be Wilkes-Barre, some areas of Wilkes-Barre.
You're not far from Sky Zone. We've had our kids there many times.
So again, you have to see what's the max rents you can get in that area. So come back to what's the neighborhood. You don't want to be, if it's a Class D neighborhood, you may not be able to reach the rents that I was thinking of. So again, everything is relative, and you don't want to over improve if the other area is not appropriate for it.
Well, look at the neighborhood too. I'm looking at the satellite. There's a bunch of houses around it that have pools and stuff on the 2 blocks around. So yeah, I can tell that this is a nice neighborhood area.
So I couldn't get, so I usually use a rent meter, and then where do I get, so this is how much that I can actually get from studio, because there's no data in the rentmeter.com. So I saw like, oh, maybe there's no studio in that region.
Right. So I will go directly on Zillow, apartments.com. I will look at the listings that are active. On Zillow, you can see on the listing how much if you're popular or not.
So I'm here on Pittston. So Exeter, which is right across the river, $800 a month for a studio, $1,100 a month for another studio, which is in Pittston. Let's see what they look like here.
So I will.
Those are very nice and updated. Yeah, so I mean, those have LVP flooring, stainless steel. So that's like a full, kind of what Michael and I do. You've seen the after pictures. So you can get up to $1,000 for a studio.
Yeah. So I will go to the listing on Zillow and not just, oh, there is a studio at this price. No, you want to look if there is how long it has been listed for. And if you see a lot of applications or a lot of people that reach out, that means there's activities. If you see 10 application within and the things has been listed for 2 days, it's probably means it's gonna be released very quickly. So it's a good reference. Because I know Rentometer in our area is not that great, but that's my method of figuring out if comparable rent is a good, the listing that I'm looking at, if it makes sense or not. If you see it listed for 45 days and there's like one application, which could be a guy that has a credit score of 400 and he's pushing the application on every single listing to be just to try his luck, then that's probably not a good comp for you. Okay.
Right.
But if you see 100 people that reach out on that listing, yeah, that thing, the problem of those is they're not gonna stay very long on the website. So that's
Right.
kind of what I was trying to say last week. Watch a market, watch the price of things coming up, and watch the rents. And once you get familiar with that, it gets easier to understand what you can do with the next property you're looking at.
Yeah.
Now that you know, oh yeah, a studio, I know it can go up to $1,000 in that area. But that it takes time of studying the market. Instead of trying to look at, multiple markets across the country.
Right.
Oh, Zan needs to drop off. I just saw he's got to get the kids to sleep. All right. I just want to, I mean, if does anyone else have anything they wanted to talk about?
The question about the prop finder, any updates with
Oh yeah, we covered that right at the beginning. We'll start and end.
I'm so sorry.
It's a question, it's fine. So yeah, basically that was like an old grandfather thing in that we have had for 6 years now. They don't have the $50, like, unless you're a wholesaler that's selling this. And I said, well, I have students and we're gonna, do this every month. And they were like, oh, how many students? I was like, oh, 8 to 10. They're like, yeah, no, we can't give you the wholesale pricing. So basically you'd have to use propstream.com. And that's the one that's $100 a month. So I said earlier, if one of you guys, get it and you guys all split the cost, even if you're pulling a couple $1,000s of lists every month, there's plenty of lists that you guys can all pull together. That would be my suggestion. So we use it every day, even if it was $100+ a month that we were paying, Michael and I would be using it. But yeah,
you have to think that if you have one need that you close on and you end up, making multiple 5 to 6 figure number, the cost of the software ultimately is not much. So
Yeah.
when we created our first website, we actually found one deal where we bought the house for $120,000 and right now it's valued at $350 just from one lead because we created one website. That cost us, maybe the investment was $1,000. So investing in maybe the software that give you the leads and that off-market deal is, it's up to you to figure out if it's worth your time.
like I said, you guys can split it too or something, but yeah. So basically, yeah, the $50 a month option is not available.
Yep. No problem. Okay.
All right. Well, as we said, you guys are going to be getting a follow-up email. Jose, you missed it a bit, but we would love to get some reviews and feedback from you guys. We just want to we want to continue to help as many people as possible to get their start. So we'll be emailing you after. Please do reply and give us any feedback, as I said, and would like some testimonials too. And this is not the end, as we said. We're going to be working with you all for a long time and helping and answering your questions and getting you moving and bringing you into things. So thank you so much for the past 8 weeks. It's been so fun to at least get to know you for the past 8 weeks. But as I said, we expect to have lots more time with you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Jose, I see you maybe next week.
Yes, I'm looking forward. I'm excited, but I'm keeping my options open. I don't want to get too emotional. but it's great. This is great. I'm learning every day.
That's the best part.
All
I
right.
love it. All right.
Thank you guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Take care. We'll talk
Bye.
soon. All right, bye.